All right, welcome aboard to those of you that are joining us. We are going to just give folks a few more minutes to hop on. We are also going to have this on Facebook Live as well. So we're going to take a couple minutes to make sure we get that all set up and squared away. And then we will go ahead and get started with all the information for the fall seasonal meeting. Just so you guys all know, we are recording this so that we will be able to send it out to teams and everyone, which will come out early next week, just so everybody is aware of that.
Okay, we are live, Susan.
Welcome aboard, everybody. Again, welcome to those of you that are joining us on Facebook at this point. We're going to give folks just a couple more minutes to hop on, and then we are going to go ahead and get started with all the information that you guys will need for the fall season meetings. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you're on Facebook and you have questions, you can go ahead and type those in on the chat. Brittany will be updating those or interrupting the call in order to ask those questions. Those of you, we do have this set up as a webinar. So those of you that are actually on the call will be muted. I will stay on the end at the end for questions. You may also type questions into the chat box as needed, but we're going to give folks just a couple more minutes and then we will go ahead and get started.
Hey, Susan. I just joined on my computer. Can you give me access on that end? I'm going to drop off my phone.
Yes, I can do that. I think you should have it now.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, we're right at 6:30 here, but I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes to hop on. Welcome to those of you guys that are joining us on Facebook Live. We are going to get started here in just a couple minutes. If you have any questions on Facebook Live or in the call, just go ahead and toss them in the chats or the comment. We will do our best to answer those throughout the call. All right, I'm gonna give people a couple more minutes. I'm just gonna go over some housekeeping items. First of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our 2021 fall season meeting. Those of you on Facebook, if you have questions, you guys can go ahead and put that right in the comments and we'll make sure that we are monitoring that and answering those questions. Those of you that are on the Zoom webinar, just keep in mind this is a webinar. So we'll keep all questions till the very end and I can unmute you and you can ask questions. However, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. We will go through and be answering those as well as we're rolling through everything. Okay, I'm gonna give people just about 2 more minutes to hop on, and then we will get rolling. Yeah, welcome. Good evening to everybody that's joining us. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce Adrian Mora, who's going to kick us off for the webinar. So Adrian, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thanks, Susan. Hey, everybody. I am Adrian Mora, and those of you who haven't met me, I am the Senior Director of Regional Services here at SoCo, formerly the Denver Regional Manager. I still lead our efforts here in the Denver region locally around our state office, but then also lead our regional management team. So all 3 of our regional managers, Elizabeth, Michelle, and Tasha. We as a team have had a shift in our responsibilities, and now us as regional managers, our focus is primarily on serving you, the coaches, and our athletes and families. We are having a more customer service-based focus where we are hoping to be more front and center within our regions and supporting you locally in getting prepared for competitions, having athletes join the movement, recruiting and training new coaches to support team needs, and generally just keeping our regions moving forward. So I am heading up our efforts with a fantastic regional management team. We're all on this call today. But I wanted to start off this meeting and just introduce myself, say hello. I'm excited to get to know many of you outside of the Denver region who I only had passing opportunities to meet in the past. So I really look forward to meeting you at upcoming competitions throughout the fall season. So please feel free to come by and introduce yourself when you see me at an event. I'll more than likely be wearing this teal Marlins hat that's always attached to my head. With that said, I guess we'll kick off our 2021 fall season coaches webinar and kick it off to Susan. Susan and I will be leading you through this call today. So we're going to be tag teaming a handful of slides here, and I'll be monitoring the chat as well. So feel free to throw in any questions that you have in there, and look forward to meeting you all in person. Thank you all for stopping by. Susan?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Adrian. Well, here we are. It seems like we're here for our last fall season meeting where things looked a little different. And we were kind of hoping our season would be back to normal, but we are doing our best, and we know you guys are doing your best to make sure that the upcoming fall season will be as normal as we can make it. So welcome. Thanks again for your time, for being here with us. We appreciate it. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Those of you who have been with us earlier in the season, through the winter, we've wanted everyone to challenge themselves, persevere, and triumph throughout the year. And I think our winter season, our spring season, and our summer season, which we're almost wrapping up, has really, all of coaches, all athletes, all families that are on this call have really stepped up to do that. So we want to thank you, first of all, for doing that. We know it hasn't been an easy year and a half or however long, right? It's all kind of a blur, I think, for most of us. But because of your efforts, we're able to continue our practices and competitions for our athletes. It's because of your patience with our new processes that are passed down to us, your willingness to implement them, and just your ability to really put the athletes first. It's the most important thing, and you guys are doing that on the front lines, and we couldn't be more grateful for that, which will lead us into this fall season. So I just want to go ahead and touch base on some of the COVID guidelines that we are still talking about. First off, masks must be worn at all times by coaches, spectators, and volunteers. Anytime you're at a Special Olympics practice, please make sure you've got those masks on. It's very important. A lot of cases are on the rise here, and we really just want to keep athletes safe. We want to keep you safe. We want to keep families safe. We really want to keep everyone safe. And, per the guidelines that are coming down to us, this is one of the ways that we can do our best to keep everybody safe. I'm going to cover some mask guidance for athletes in the next slide as well. We will be sharing some sport-specific COVID best practices. We didn't offer bowling and volleyball last fall as things were, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that might look like as well. Obviously, you're always adhering to all the facility guidelines that are placed in front of you. Some facility guidelines may be stricter than our guidelines, and we need you then to follow the facility guidelines in order to be able to practice there. Our teams, we know we've got some large bowling teams, so our teams that are practicing at one time, we're going to limit those to a maximum of 50 people inside and outside. That's coaches, that's unified partners, that's athletes, that's everybody that would be, for example, I'll use the bowling alley in this case, that's everybody that would be in that bowling alley, okay? Our spectators must abide by these rules for each sport and event. And we can definitely provide some PPE kits. So I'm going to go over a few changes that we've got coming up here on the next couple of slides. Our mask guidance.
Hey, Susan.
Masks are to, oh, yep, sorry.
Can I add one clarifying comment on the previous slide for participation at practices, 50 people or more? That's people within the SoCo community that are at the practice. You may be at a bowling alley that may have additional people that are non-Special Olympics Colorado related. They don't count towards this 50-person max. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Yep, perfect, thank you. All right, I'm gonna hop into everybody's favorite topic, mask guidance. Again, masks are to be worn by all coaches, staff, volunteers, and spectators at all times, regardless of vaccination status. That's just it. That's where we're at right now. As our cases change, I'm gonna, in a couple of slides, I'm gonna get to where we hope to be over the next few months. But as of right now, that is where we're at. Masks are to be worn by all athletes and unified partners at all times, except when actively participating in their sport. So our flag football athletes and our volleyball athletes, while they're actively participating on the court, they do not need to wear masks. Bowling athletes must keep masks on at all times. When they're bowling, when they're not bowling, at any point, bowling athletes must keep their masks on at all times. Okay. Let me get to the end of this slide, Tammy, and then if you want to put your question in the chat, if you're able to do that, that would be fantastic. Again, our mask guidelines must be implemented at all SoCo activities, including practices, functions, events, and competitions. And that goes as a reminder for coaches, staff, volunteers, spectators, and then any athletes and unified partners that are not competing in volleyball and flag football. And all athletes, everyone within the bowling alley will need to have masks on at all times, okay? We've got these guidelines in place, again, to continue to keep everybody safe throughout the entire season. And we'd like you to please continue to enforce the mask wearing with your team at practices until further notice, okay? Any questions come through on the chat and any of the mask pieces that I can touch base on? I can take a look. Yep, when athletes are on the sidelines, they will need to have their masks on for flag football. Okay. Christine, if you're holding your practice at your day program, if it's a Special Olympics practice, we do encourage everyone to wear masks, okay? If there are medical exemptions, you guys can go ahead and please reach out with those concerns, and we can go ahead and chat through that. Tammy, if you want to stay on at the end, we can chat through that situation and see what we can do to ensure that your daughter will be able to participate. Okay. Again, any of these pieces, we don't want to disclude anyone from participating, but we also just want to make sure we are doing the best we can to keep everybody as safe as possible. Okay. All right. Let me get to the next slide. All right, next up, I'm going to cover some return to activities protocol. So as you guys know, we've got Special Olympics International that oversees us, and we fall under their umbrella, so we have to follow many of their guidelines. So we did receive some return to activity protocol from them, and I'm gonna go ahead and hop over to that. Give my computer 1 second to catch up. So right now, the Special Olympics Return to Activities Protocol is divided up into 3 different levels. We've got our green, our yellow, and our orange, okay? Our green is that we are less than 10 new cases daily per 100,000 people. And that's what we're looking at right now. That's the main number we're looking at. We do understand that the vaccination rate is included on this, but that's something that we are going to kind of put off to the side right now, because we feel the most important number is really that new cases daily per 100,000 people. Okay, and I'm going to flip over here. This is the website that we'll be using, the Global Epidemics website. This is the website we'll be using to determine that number. So for example, we are in El Paso County this weekend for an event, and we're looking here, and we are at 25 people per 100,000 people for those new cases. So what we're doing with our team is we're coming over here, we're realizing that we are in this orange range here, and we are going to be following all of the guidelines down here. This is where our bowling and flag football and volleyball might be affected, but I'll touch base on all that a little bit later as well. For the summer season, we feel pretty good because we are outside, and our outside sports are a little bit safer. But there are definitely significant more restrictions that are going to be taking place when our counties are in this orange level. And just as a reminder, we are going to go through and use counties to determine that. Okay. Any questions on those pieces? Yep. So for when athletes are actively competing, they do not need to wear a mask, just as Adrienne said. If the athletes are on the field, if the athletes are practicing and doing their drills, if the athletes are actively competing and physically exerting themselves, they will not need to wear masks during that time. Okay, great. All right, next up, we will continue to share some general and sports safety guidelines. We'll have that all located on our website, and I'm going to scroll through and show you guys where to do that. If there are high-risk individuals, we do encourage you to be safe, make the decision that's right for you. And if that is to continue to be active in virtual activities, that's an option for you as well. So we've got some options as well for those folks that might not feel comfortable participating as well. Okay. And everyone's favorite topic, COVID paperwork process, which we are still in the midst of. So any athlete that has not completed the COVID participant risk form and code of conduct will need to do that. Those will need to be turned into the regional manager following that first practice. Some athletes have done that in the spring and the summer. They will not need to do that. If you're not sure, I would err on the side of caution and just have everyone sit down and fill that out, just to be sure that we've got that squared away. That'll be the same thing with the communicable disease waiver. Each individual will need to fill one of those out by that first practice. And you guys will need to go ahead and share those with your regional managers following that first practice. The sooner you share those waivers with us, the sooner we can get them in our system, and the sooner we have that information so that we're not continually asking you to fill out these forms. There will be a team sign-in sheet that you guys will need to do at each practice. This will need to take place at each practice. Anyone that's there will need to turn that in. There's also a symptom tracker on there that we will need everyone to sign off on, and then those can be turned in through the regional manager as well. Okay. With the team sign-in sheet, in the past, we did ask you guys to take temperatures. We have eliminated that. So you will not need to take temperatures for athletes as they are coming, and coaches and everyone else that's coming in to sign in that sheet. Just as a reminder, if you've got spectators, it's kind of whoever's in that practice space, please have them sign that sign-in sheet. It's super important for us to go back and contact trace if we need to in any situations like that. Okay. Let's see. Tammy, we'll get to bowling. I'm going to get to the specifics of the sports as I cover some more specifics, some more best practices for each sport. And Tyler, we'll be following up on the CSU-CU flag football game this year. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn things back over then to Adrian, who is going to discuss everyone's second favorite topic, which is the athlete application.
All right, thanks, Susan. Susan, before I jump into it too far, I have limited access to the chat. I don't know if you're able to give me access as a panelist, but just wanted to mention that. I apologize. My nephew's running around at our living room right now, but I will jump into the athlete application. So the athlete application is
Adrian, I think we lost you.
Yep, when I accepted the panelists, I dropped from the call. All right, and I'm back. So athlete application is only available online. If you are requiring any additional support with processing the online athlete application, please speak with your regional manager and we can support you in that process. We are no longer accepting any old paper applications. So if you have a paper application, discard it because it is not available for submission anymore. We are exclusively shifting to the online application. The current application and medical exam form is on our website, or you can contact the regional manager as well for a copy of that physical examination form. And as always, we have the help desk available. You see the link here at specialolympicsco.org/helpdesk. They can support you in answering any direct questions, troubleshoot issues as you're moving through the application, and support you as coaches, athletes, or family members with any specific athlete application related questions as you're moving through that. We, as many of you know, have seen that we've experiencing some issues with our website. We are migrating to a new host server. So through that process, we've had some downtime on our website, and it has directly affected the process within the athlete application. So we thank you for your patience as we work through these issues. We do have some additional processes in place to support people who are completing the athlete application presently while we do move through our website transition. So please feel free to reach out to your regional managers and we can support you in that process. All right, next slide. So here's just a quick a list of links that will be available to any coaches or athletes, family members after this call. This call will be recorded and shared on our website following this presentation, but you can link all these different application processes and pieces here. So the Become an Athlete page is your home to start to become an athlete or renew your athlete application. The second one is the direct link to the athlete application. The third is the link to the athlete help desk, which is that web submission form for you to be able to ask any relevant questions around the athlete application process. And finally, the last one is the physical examination form. I did want to touch on the physical examination form first. When updating or starting your new athlete application, it's important to start first with the physical examination form. This is the first form you want to get completed by having it completed by a medical professional. This is basically your athlete's sports physical. This is the first piece that will be needed and required while completing the athlete application. When you are going through the athlete application, you will not be able to advance through the application without being able to submit the physical examination form first. So I encourage anyone who's going through this process to complete that first so that you're ready to go once you're starting with the application. All right, now next slide.
Just real quick, we did have a question come in about how often or how long the applications are good for. So those applications are good for 3 years. So if an athlete got an application squared away and was approved last year, I think that's the key point is you guys, if you've turned something in and you're not sure if that athlete application was approved, please reach out to your regional manager sooner rather than later to figure out if that was approved, and then they'll be good for 3 years.
Yep. And that will also apply to Class A background checks for any coaches or unified partners who are going through the process of submitting their Class A background checks. Those are also good for 3 years. So by now, you as coaches should have received past rosters from your regional managers that list athletes, coaches, and unified partners expiration dates for their paperwork. Those rosters that were shared are from the 2019 state and regional competitions. So if you have updated participants who are new to your roster, new to your team, please do, or were not reflected on your team from 2019, please do reach out to your regional managers and we can look that up ourselves and provide you with an update on those individuals' paperwork as well. It's important to review this list now. The earlier we can start this process in reminding your families that they need to update their paperwork will only alleviate the back end challenges that we inevitably run into leading up to our competition. So we as regional managers will share this paperwork again once we've received the rosters from teams leading up to competitions. That's usually done 2 weeks ahead of the competition date. That said, that 2-week window is really like your drop dead deadline to be able to start getting these updated applications in. And inevitably, that's the window when most people are trying to submit their paperwork. So the earlier we can start this process, the easier it'll be on everybody involved. You as coaches, family members, so they're not pressed for time and trying to get doctor's appointments, and then us on the Special Olympics side and being able to process that and clear everybody for participation. And then
Adrian, we just had one quick question come in the chat. Do the medical providers need to be the one updating the physical form, or if a parent or an athlete gets a copy of that physical, they can upload that, correct?
If they receive a copy of the physical, yes, they can upload it. The provider doesn't have to be the one uploading it. They do have to complete the form and provide a doctor's signature and date. Any other questions?
Debbie just asked about if those in 2020 that participated in 2020 will be reflected on that program list as well.
The report that we sent out was a 2019 report. Unfortunately, our data was inconsistent in 2020 since we only had inter-squad competitions and didn't have full-fledged state and regional competitions. So we don't have all those rosters entered into our database, unfortunately. So for the sake of accuracy, we are using our 2019 report. That said, if they did participate in 2020, we can look them up and make sure that we have that information. So Debbie, feel free to reach out to Tasha and she'll be able to help you out with that.
And, you know, Debbie just mentioned, Debbie, I know that there's athletes that have been participating with other groups. So if you can just share that list with Tasha, she'll be able to pull expiration dates for you so that you can know. So I would recommend double check that list that you received. If you've got folks not on there, just email a list over to Tasha and she can she can double check that for you to make sure that we're covering everybody. That's going to be the best way to cover it, just to make sure that we've got everybody squared away and you have all the correct information for all the athletes and coaches and partners.
Absolutely. And then we will, what's helpful for us on our end is if you're able to provide first name, last name, and date of birth, if you have it, that'll help alleviating any like duplicate entries. So if there's a John Smith, we'll probably have multiple John Smiths in our system. So having a date of birth, we'll be able to clarify which one we're looking at and getting you the correct information. All right, then here's a list of this is the example paperwork document that I've sent to my teams. Your regional managers probably sent you something very similar, but basically I wanted to just run through this report so it's easier to digest and understand when you're reading it and reviewing it. At the top, you'll see a key of what each color assigned here designates. So your red is basically anybody who is expired or missing paperwork. What that means is that if we haven't received their updated paperwork, they won't be able to compete at a regional or state competition. Those people are expired going into the season. If they're highlighted in orange, they are expiring ahead of a regional competition and must renew before that regional competition in order to compete. If they're highlighted in yellow, that means they're expiring before state, so they can compete at regionals, but it would be beneficial for them to start the process now so that they can be prepared and ready to go come state competition as well. So just going through the columns quickly, on the far left, you'll see the FF Aurora Jaguars. That's the team name, so that's what team you head up. You'll see first name, last name. So this is sorted by last person type and then last name. So you'll see each individual here. Person type is basically if they're an athlete, a coach, or a unified partner. There's a column that I've hidden here, but you'll see their date of birth between person type and gender. And then you'll see their gender, their athlete application date. So that is the most current application that we have on file for them in our system. The next column is the Class A date. So that is anybody who is a unified partner. Some athletes like Michael Shoemaker here, he is both has a athlete application and a Class A on file with us because he does support us as a coach on the side. So sometimes you'll see that repeat paperwork there. But for partners, you'll see that red flagged and coaches missing paperwork under that Class A column. And then that missing documents field will also explain a little bit more of what is missing from that application or what is required from that individual prior to regional or state competition in order for them to compete. I saw a couple of questions come in through the chat. Susan, anything else I should address here?
Yeah, no, I think that the biggest thing is there's a lot of great points about new teams have started. A lot of teams have changed over the last couple of years since we had our kind of our regular fall season in 2019. So, you know, the best solution is really just review that list that you've got and just feel free to make a new list of who you have on your roster and send that in to us, to the regional managers. I think that'll be your best way to stay ahead of kind of the paperwork rush 2-week period that we're all trying to avoid, to alleviate the stress of everybody. Once we get close to the competition, as coaches, you guys have so many other things to be worried about that we want to try to take care of this stuff ahead of time. So if you know that you've got people right now that are on your team that are not on that list, just shoot those names over to the regional manager and they'll get you the deadline, the correct deadline, the correct expiration dates.
Absolutely. And just so you guys are aware of what it looks like on the back end for us, when we send out this report, we always do it based off of the prior year's regional and state competitions. So 2020 was obviously an outlier for all of us. And since we didn't have a regional and state competition, we didn't have those entries listed in our into our system to be able to pull a full and honest report that would be reflective of all our teams. If you did participate last year in 2020, that's an easy report for your regional manager to pull. So if you did reach out to your regional manager, they'd be able to support you and get that to you very quickly. But moving forward, going on beyond 2021 and going into 2022, we'll have a more accurate report based off the prior year's competition.
Tim, if you want to go ahead and reach out to Elizabeth, Tim Miner is asking when his expiration will be up. If you want to go ahead and connect with Elizabeth, she'll be able to share. Look, she's already on it. She'll already share that with you, okay?
All right.
And then there was a Facebook Live question coming in. Just hold tight on sports for 1 second. We're just about to get to that part. We had to get through the most exciting paperwork part before that. So looks like those are all the questions we've got for now. Yes, Debbie, you'll be getting a roster of anyone that participated in the fall of 2019 with your team. If you've not gotten that, you should be getting that shortly. Okay. All right. Next up, now we're on to the sports part. All right, I know everyone has been anxiously awaiting everything, and I know we've got a lot of questions coming in here, so I'm gonna try to get through everything as we're going through. I'm gonna start with our bowling. Did I skip a slide? I think I skipped a slide. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna start with our bowling best practices, and then I'm gonna jump over to our website to show you where all of these pieces live. Our bowling best practices for this season, masks must be worn at all times, even when competing. I know there were some questions that came in asking why this is different than some of our other events. And our thought process behind it was that it's an indoor sport. It's very close quarters. We are saying that there's no more than 5 people per lane at a time, but that's still very crowded in some bowling alleys. There's not a lot of social distancing that can take place at bowling alleys. And we feel that the athletes may not necessarily be exerting themselves as they would be for example, in flag football or in volleyball. So we are asking everyone to wear masks at all times when they're bowling. We'd like you not to share bowling balls. And if possible, we'd like to have people spaced out on lanes when they're not bowling. We know there are some larger bowling groups. So we will go ahead and ask you guys to keep that to no more than 50 in the bowling alley with your group at that time during that event, during that situation. Any questions on bowling that are coming in? Okay, fantastic. Next up, I'm going to jump into flag football best practices. We would like you to avoid sharing equipment if possible. If you must share equipment, please sanitize it as best as possible, as best as you can at the beginning and at the end of practice. Ensure everyone's washing hands and using hand sanitizer frequently when you are using shared equipment. Be sure to practice social distancing when possible. If you're in lines for drills, just have some spots or cones out where the athletes can be spaced out during that time. Before practice, we want to make sure everyone's spaced out and social distancing as well. Masks must be worn at all times when athletes and partners are not competing. This is arriving, departing, before practice starts. But once they're practicing and they're competing, they will not need to be wearing a mask, okay? Team competition at this point will be offered pending the cases of COVID going on at that time per the SOI guidelines. So if you guys remember back over here, I shared this chart of the green, yellow, and orange. If we're in this orange range, they are suggesting that we do not have contact sports within that. So again, hopefully kind of once we get to our competitions, we've got a month till we get to our competitions. Hopefully these numbers will come down. If they do not, we will be only able to offer the combine skills for athletes, but we will keep you guys updated on that as we know more as well. Okay. All right. So that's the gist of flag football best practices. I am going to go ahead and hop into, there are some flag football rule changes. So for those of you flag football coaches, I think there's going to be some really happy folks on here. There are the Special Olympics North America has just gone through the rules and made some changes. And I just wanted to cover a few of those. Okay. First off, the ball carrier may not dive, hurdle, stiff arm, or use either arm to shield the defender from grasping their flag. Okay. We will definitely consider that to be, that's one of the rules. Each offensive player must wear a one-piece quick release belt without knots in the waistline. All right. The belt must be spring loaded. I think we've been doing this for a while. They've made this an official rule, but it's not the old detachable flags that you have to Velcro back on. It's a clip that goes right in the front. Once that gets pulled off, then that's the end of that play. No blue jeans or hats with hard brims may be worn. This next point is really just about concussions. So if this happens at practice, we'll keep you guys responsible for ensuring that you're monitoring that. If it'll happen at an event, we'll have our medical staff that will be on hand to assist with the evaluation of the concussion as well. Okay. Now just a couple other pieces. Running. The ball carriers must make an effort to avoid defenders that have an established position, and the ball carriers may spin to avoid flags being pulled. So that's something different that is in the rules, that the ball carrier may spin. Flag guarding, contact must occur for the flag guarding to be called a penalty as well. So again, there's some new changes coming in here. Before the event, I will probably share with you guys, and as we get a little bit closer over the next couple of weeks, I'll share with you guys just a brief synopsis of what all the rule changes are so that you guys have that and can review that and can ask any questions before we do get to the competitions. For screen blocking, the arms can be crossed over the chest with the hands near the shoulders. That's something that was not permitted in the past, and that is permitted at this point now. Okay. Backfield blocking. So if you're assuming that legal screen blocking position, a player may move to maintain it unless they move into an opponent and create that contact. Okay. And the final biggest rule change is that with snaps, we are allowing side snaps now. So you have to either snap the ball between the center's legs or off to the side as well. Okay. Volleyball best practices. I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. So our maximum number on each court should be limited to allow social distancing. And we'd like to ask for no more than 25. I think most of the volleyball teams are smaller than that. And I think if you have 2 teams practicing, that will allow you guys to fit in that space. If that is not the case, please feel free to reach out to us and we can talk through your situation. Again, masks must be worn at all times when the athletes are not actively practicing or competing. Continue to do your best to sanitize and encourage hand washing and sanitation as often as possible, sanitizing equipment. And then when you're running drills and gatherings, please make sure that the athletes are remaining socially distanced as best as possible. All right, next up, I wanna just walk through, actually, I'll do a quick pause. Any other questions come through the chat at this point?
Susan, we're getting a few questions about singles and doubles and bowling, if we're going to be offering that this year.
Yes, we will be offering singles and doubles. We'll be offering, at this point, we'll be offering singles, doubles, and teams as we have in the past.
Awesome. And then we also got a question, 1 second. Will there be competitions for bowling? And if so, how will numbers be managed? Do you want to cover that at the end?
No, I can hop into that. Okay. We're hopeful. Actually, give me one more slide to get to it, and then I'll get into the competition. So let me pause that for one more slide, and I'll get into the calendar and go from there. We do have a website for all of our competitions. I'm going to pull that up here quickly. As you can see right now, we are still in the midst of our summer season. So our summer season is still front and center here. But if you're itching to get ready, or I know some of you are already practicing for the fall season, all you need to do is scroll down here and you will find where we are in the fall season. So we've got our fall season timeline here. This will be updated. We're in the transition of our website being up. I sort of cheated and our website's currently down, but I had the page up beforehand so that I can show you guys this piece. But all of our events will be up here on this season timeline. I'm going to show those in the next slide as well. If you have any competition questions, you can go ahead and fill this out. We'll receive that and be able to answer your questions. We've got our COVID forms all listed up here. So you can just click on each of these as you need them, as well as our return to practice guidelines. And then here we do have our best practices that I covered on the slides, but we also have them listed here in our return to play guidelines. Under this section, this is where you will find all the resources and entry forms that you'll need. So we'll have our bowling singles entry form with our samples, all of our entry forms down here, as well as the Special Olympics Colorado rules and the Special Olympics International rules. Those of you guys that are doing flag football, we've got all our team rating forms here. And then the SONA flag football rules, these are going to be the most updated and the most accurate with all those changes. They did a great job of highlighting all of the changes on there. They're all bolded on there. So feel free to read through that and reach out with any questions of clarification that you might need for that. And then all of our pieces for volleyball will be under here as well. Okay. And then we've got a few frequently asked questions down here. And that's kind of our fall season, the gist of our fall season website. So make sure you're checking that out. Check back here, like I said, for the most updated information. If you go to this page and you get a little worried because the summer season's still here, just keep scrolling and you'll be able to find the fall season. And once our summer season is done, the fall season will be up and front and center as well. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Yep, Debbie, that's a perfect question. It's going to segue right into the next piece that is pretty important here is our fall seasonal interest form. If you have a team this year, if you've had a team in the past, if you're brand new, please fill this out. You'll need to just click right here. This will be sent out to you again early next week to fill out. And it is going to take you to the seasonal interest form for the fall season. This is what we're going to use to gather all of our information for you, whether you're a new team or returning team, what your team name is, what region you're in. This is just going to help us get you what sports you're doing. This is going to help us get you the most up-to-date information, okay? We've got age groups on here, a head coach name. If you are listing more than one head coach or email address, please use a semicolon in between them. That just helps with kind of making sure we've got everybody squared away in there. Add any and all assistant coaches that you want to have the information. You can add as many people as you want to in here. This will be the official mailing list. This is where you'll get reminders of the entry deadline. You'll get your rosters to review before competition. You'll get any updates on the competition. You'll receive all that information through these email addresses. So this is the key piece for you to make sure all of the coaches are receiving proper information, okay? Again, here, this is a good spot. If you received your medical and class side deadlines and you have anyone new, you can type people into this spot. And this is something that we check every few days, and the regional managers can then update and get this sent back out to you with any updates. We'd love to know if you have room to expand your roster. We've also had a ton of success this spring and summer with existing teams adding on a youth team. So it's not necessarily a team that you're in charge of, it's just kind of tagging on to the back end of your practice. We'd provide the additional coaches. We'd love for some of you guys to mentor some of these new coaches, but this is just a way to add additional teams to kind of that practice space. We're asking for your practice dates, times, and locations, asking for information on your COI. You're stating here that you're following all of our COVID procedures, And then this piece number here, number 18, this is important. We are happy to send you these items, but you need to check off what you need. So once you check off what you need, if you would like all of these items, we will send those out to you as soon as we get that squared away for the start of your practices, okay? You can also reach out to your regional managers for those, but if you put it on here, this is something that you guys can go ahead and do as well, okay? And then just general questions at this point, so we can plan if you would attend a SoCo competition, if you'd like to do an inter squad competition, or if you want to just train and not compete at this time as well. Okay. All of those are definitely options. Okay. And yep, we will be doing individual skills for flag football and for volleyball this year. Okay. All right. Next up, and give me 1 second. I'm going to make this a little bit too big there. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I know the other spreadsheet was kind of small. So this is our tentative plan for the fall season. Okay. So right now you can see all the events. We've got our dates squared away here. We've got a couple locations we're still planning to fill in. And then you can see entry deadlines over here. Okay. So for our flag football events, all of our entry deadlines are going to be September 1st. I know some of you are just kind of getting rolling at that point. So at that point, if I could get a team roster from you and a general idea of your level, that way we can be a little bit ahead of the game with getting you your updated paperwork needs. If we need to update you the divisions you're in, those are things that we can work through, but the sooner we can get that information, the sooner we can start to get initial information out to you, okay? Those folks on the Western slope for flag football, hold tight, Michelle's working. We're working to set a date for that event as well. We do hope to host a state flag football tournament at CSU on October 23rd, as you can see here. And for that, you don't need to resubmit your rosters. You just need to confirm that you're attending by the end of September. So once the event's over, I'll send out results and it'll say, here's your results. Please let me know if you plan on attending our state tournament. Again, this is all an ideal situation, and this is all, thinking in the fact that we're less than that 15 per 100,000 cases coming up, okay? We've listed our bowling dates out here as well. Just keep in mind that the majority of these dates might turn into a bowling weekend, just due to limited capacities we might have at some of the bowling alleys, okay? So we've got most of these dates reserved for the Saturday and Sunday for some of our bigger events. For some of the smaller events, the days might be longer than you're typically used to, just so that we can make sure that we're spreading out and providing social distance as best as possible. We appreciate your flexibility in what all of these events might look like coming into the fall. Bowling might look a little different. They all just might look a little bit different, but at this point, these are the events that we're hoping to have, and we'll continue to update all of you as we know more. So I do have on November 20th, we do have our State Fall Classic bowling and volleyball, hopefully taking place on that day as well, okay? There's a couple chat questions that came in. Sounds like we are squared away on that. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to our fall season celebrations. Regardless of what we end up doing, even if teams are just practicing, we're gonna wanna celebrate our fall seasons. We will be having a Champions Highlight Show that will wrap up our fall season, and that will be on December 4th at 6 p.m. That's gonna be on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So if you're at practices and you wanna take pictures of the events that you're participating in, please feel free to do so. Here's a Dropbox link you can upload them to, and then we will use those for our highlight show that we'll be featuring in the Champions Highlight Show. I'm going to put in a plug for the Champions Highlight Show. If you have not caught them, I highly suggest heading over to our YouTube channel to check them out. We started these last summer in the virtual summer games, and we've continued them ever since. And I think it's been a really great way to showcase the amazing ability and talents and the perseverance of the athletes that are competing. We will still determine opening ceremonies, young athletes, and healthy athletes for all of the competitions that we will hopefully be hosting as well. Okay. Anything come through on the chat there? Okay. All right. Next up, we've got the 2021 Fall Coaches Summit. Many of you should have hopefully received information about this. The date is Saturday, October 2nd. It's looking to be from a 7 to 5 window. We will start out in the morning at the Radisson Denver Aurora Hotel with the general session. And then we will have sport-specific trainings at the South Suburban Sports Complex. So it's an all-day event. We will be that afternoon session of basketball, volleyball, bocce, soccer, and flag football. That's going to be very, very hands-on. So please note that registration date, that deadline is September 17th. So make sure you get in on that as those spots are filling up quickly, and that link will be shared with you early next week as well. Okay. Souvenirs. We are going to be doing our best with souvenirs this year. We are going to try to sell them at events, pending some of the restrictions that will be put in place. We may not be able to. So I'd highly recommend checking out our website, shopinclusion.org, to check out the items and to do any of your souvenir shopping. Just so it's on your radar, we are going to plan to do kind of a December, early Christmas kind of Christmas sale, where we'll have some items at the office and we'll have times where you guys can sign in to come to do some shopping. So if you want to wait until early December to get your Christmas shopping done, we will be sending out some more information about that. So stay tuned for that as needed. Okay. Any questions on any of those pieces? All right, so then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn things over to Megan, which, Brittany, are you able to make Megan a co-host or a panelist? Perfect.
Can you all see me?
Do that, that would be great.
Can you guys see me okay?
Yep, I can hear you, you're good. But I just wanna, sorry, I wanna make sure Megan was unmuted, but I would wanna turn it over to Megan. I wanna, give Megan a huge thanks. She's been super supportive of the entire season of all these processes and has dug through numerous piles of weeds to kind of get us back in action. So it's really exciting to be back in action. So thanks to Megan for that. And now I'm going to turn it over to her for some new and exciting updates for the winter season.
Okay, thanks, Susan. And honestly, this is very much a team effort, and I'm including athletes, coaches, family members as part of the team to make all of this possible. I know there are so many changes and rules and regulations, and they're, a lot. So we appreciate it very, very much, all coming together to do the very best we can to provide sport and competition, which I know we all love and miss so much. So I'm actually excited to introduce a quasi new process. I don't want anyone to panic when I say a new process, but the point of this, what we're calling seasonal registration, is actually to address so many of the questions that we've heard throughout the chat. Even today. So first I'm going to go through what it is that I'm talking about. And it's an online, it'll be a short online sport specific registration form that will be completed prior to each season. And we will ask everyone to complete it once per sport. The application will open 4 months before the start of practice and will close 3 weeks prior to the season start. So an entire 4 months before, so that everybody has lots of information and lots of time well in advance of the start of the season. We'll be piloting it with the winter season, actually providing winter season information and registration opening on September 1st. So that'll give us a much larger window. Even, right now we're talking about fall and it starts soon. So we really wanna give everybody a longer window there. And then we're asking, again, all athletes, partners, and coaches to register each season. Don't panic, it's not 100% required. This new seasonal registration form, though, will replace the interest form that Susan just went through for coaches. So it's just a slightly different form for coaches to worry about there. It also will replace our young athlete form. So I'll get into that in a little bit. What it does not replace is our athlete application and our Class A application, which we went through. That expires every 3 years. So every 3 years, we will still need to have everyone complete that form. Now, why are we doing this? Again, a lot of the questions that have been asked or issues that have been raised in the chat tonight is part of the reason. But it's based a lot on our strategic goals. So who does it recall, we went through a strategic planning process over the past 1.5 years. So it's based on a lot of goals in there. and feedback from athletes, families, prospective families, all of that surrounding the ease of registering, ease of overall, ease of becoming an athlete, ease of learning about sport, the overall experience. We want to make sure everyone's experience is as fun yet easy as possible. So, and then also we want to focus on athlete and team growth. So I'll get into that in a little bit. And then the other reason, this registration, season-specific registration process is very similar to what anyone would see in any other recreational or competitive sporting organization, where you register each season for that particular sport. And then a key reason here, which I think somebody asked in the chat, we want to ensure that every single athlete who wants to play a sport can do so, and that they know and have an easy way to come to us and say, yeah, I want to sign up for skiing. Here's where I'm going to fill it out and I will be placed on a team. You can go to the next slide. Okay, now what we hope to accomplish with this seasonal registration form. First, consistency. We want to have consistency, a consistent process across age levels. So what I mean by that is currently our young athletes have a different process to sign up for sports, as do our community-based athletes, as do our school-based athletes. So we want to make sure that that process is consistent. We also want to make sure that every single season, coaches, athletes, families can come to expect a process. They know that registration and sports and competitions will be announced 4 months before practice begins, and they'll have that long window every season, every year. So we want to create that consistency and give everybody the opportunity to know what's coming up. It will also extend the timeline. So again, by beginning this process 4 months before practice begins, we're really giving ourselves a lot more time. So when people have the opportunity to start registering that far in advance, we can then help coaches and athletes earlier find out if their applications are expired or expiring. We can provide that information earlier. Mind you, we know that there may be some people who wait till the very last minute to fill it out, and that's cool too. But we want to extend that. We also want to make sure that everyone has the information as early as possible. The other thing is ease and experience. So this is something, a response to a lot of feedback that I hear. First, we want to make sure it's easy for current athletes to try a new sport. And I put, if they're regular team, so often athletes come in and they are matched with a coach or a team, and that coach or team may not offer soccer, but an athlete wants to try soccer. And so they're not, I often hear that, I'm not sure how I get involved in a new sport. So it's there to make it easier for current athletes to get involved in a new sport. And then also the other thing I hear is from people, external people. They have not yet joined the Special Olympics family. And I go onto the website and I want to become an athlete. I want to sign up for soccer. I don't know what to do, or I want to sign up for basketball. So we hope that this registration, the sport registration form, they can sign up for basketball. And then we on our end, on Special Olympics end, will follow up and say, thank you so much for signing up for basketball. We're going to get you placed on a team. In the meantime, you can begin your athlete application process, but we'll get you signed up for basketball. And then the other thing is that it can assist coaches in providing information earlier. So again, we're going through the process of giving you 2019 rosters. When we have this information, when athletes fill this out, we'll be able to give coaches the information rather than relying on coaches to have to continually give us that information and track it down. So we're really trying to be serve in a support role here. Contact information. We will get regularly updated contact information from athletes, coaches, partners, as opposed to every 3 years, which then means we can also provide notice of expiring applications, regular communication, et cetera. And then athlete and team growth. We can help fill teams who need more athletes or partners by putting out this registration form and inviting everyone to join us. And we can help form new teams. Again, by making it an easy process to sign up for basketball or skiing, we're hoping that lots of new athletes and partners are excited to join the Special Olympics family. And we're trying to make it as easy to do so as possible. So then just a few quick notes on the next slide. I want to make two things very clear. If an athlete already has a team and does not complete this form, not a problem. We are hoping that every single athlete fill this out, again, so that we can have a consistent process, so that we can support coaches in getting you rosters, so that we can support coaches by letting everyone know if expiration dates are coming up sooner. But if they do not a problem. If a coach has an athlete and you know they're on your team, not a problem. This is also not something that coaches will need to track. This is not one more thing added onto an already full coach's plate. It will replace that seasonal form that Susan just mentioned, and as far as coaches go, but it's something that we at Special Olympics are using to help provide service to athletes, families, and coaches, not the other way around. I also want to make a note, we've hired an athlete experience manager. So we're trying to put resources behind this to make sure that this is a process that works. Leah Combs, who was our senior health and wellness manager, has switched into this role so that she can help create and facilitate this process. Something else we're addressing that we've received feedback on is making it easier to get an athlete medical completed. So we will be creating at least 4 athlete medical or athlete application / MedFest events a year across the state. Meaning we'll plan those in advance and we can message those out when we say your athlete medical or your athlete application is expiring. Come to this event on December 4th and we can get everything taken care of for you right then and there. So yeah, really we've spent a lot of time getting feedback on this process, but this is a trial and I am personally very, very open to feedback. I know our entire team is. So please reach out to me. We will try to continue improving it as we go. So continue to reach out to me. We're also going to be doing a town hall on Friday, August 27th. If anyone wants more information on this and a few other things, just programmatic updates that are coming up on August 27th. So all are welcome to attend that, really trying to be as communicative as possible. So please send any feedback that you have my way to your regional manager, et cetera. And then I have one last slide to go through. And that's all I had on the seasonal registration form. If anyone has any questions, I don't see any in the chat, but feel free to, oh, this would be a sample timeline, sorry, where winter registration would open on September 1st. Coach forms would be due December 1st. Team placement would be December 13th through 17th. So that's where everyone on our SOCO staff will be working to make sure that every athlete that fills this out would will be placed on a team. And then we would let the teams know, again, for coaches that are already, they've got their team up and running, they've been going on for a long time, you're generally doing the same process that you already have. Nothing really will change too much for you. It's really, this is addressing the athletes who say, I want to join a team and I don't have one. New athletes who are just joining Special Olympics, we'll make sure everybody gets placed on a team. And how was the feedback collected? Great question. I talked to many coaches. Whenever I get a coach, I would say, you know, what do you think? We've gone through the staff, regional managers, talked to our young athletes team, presented it to the Athlete Input Council. We have an athlete intake committee, we also at the Family Input Council brought it up. And then we will be, once we have the form, we're trying to keep the form very, very simple. We'll be sending it out to a few coaches and athletes for additional feedback as well. But again, continue sending me any feedback. This is really meant to be a service and a help for coaches and athletes so that we can make it easier, not harder for everybody. And then last slide, really. That's all we have on the seasonal registration, unless I see anything else in the chat. I don't. And then just wanted to remind everyone, if you hadn't already seen, we have a team funding opportunity. So we will be giving out funding up to $500 to cover new uniforms, equipment, or facilities to any team. So what we would need is the coach, only one coach to apply for at that link there. We've also sent it out a few times. So far, we've actually received more than 103 applications. So please send them on to us. We are hoping to fund every single application that comes through to help get teams equipment or uniforms or what they need. The caveat is that we would need it to be spent by December 15th this year. So excited to be able to offer that. We have not come to the point where we can check online to see if our athletes or partners are have expired paperwork. That is a pie in the sky. And we agree that is something that we would like to make our way to. We're also working on finding a more regular process to let everyone know your medical will be expiring in 6 months so that everyone has more notice. But for right now, we do not have the ability to post that online. Any other questions for me? Again, I really appreciate everybody's support and all that you do very, very much. That'll pass back to Susan.
All right. Thank you very much, Megan. I'm going to touch base real quick on the fall and winter wellness challenges that are coming up. We will have, starting September 13th to October 24th, we will have a fall into fitness. We're going to be bringing back the 6-week Fit 5 challenge, but there's going to be a twist. So stay tuned for all the information on that. There's going to be some great workouts and nutritional advice. Jimmy Kropp, who is a regional fitness captain and certified personal trainer, will be leading some workouts, and Sergeant Trevor, International Global Messenger Hannah Atkinson, will be sharing some information on some nutritional tips as well to keep yourself healthy and fit during that time period. We'll also be offering the holiday happiness from November 8th to December 5th. This is going to be a mental health retreat that will provide you with tools to help during times of stress, anxiety, and depression, which I think will be a good time leading into the holidays for everybody as well. Okay. And we will be hoping to offer healthy athletes at state flag football as well. This information will be coming soon. We are looking to do a health promotion health screening with some new content created by some students at CSU. So there'll be a fun and interactive performance stations with some great giveaways. We're also working on how we're going to be able to offer that at our state fall classic as well. Okay. And we do have, just so you know, some new health contacts. Jenna Tweet is the Senior Inclusive Health Manager. Many of you guys know Jenna. She's done some great work with a lot of these challenges and really expanded the program, as well as increased kind of the fitness captain spread and kind of all those pieces. So her information is on there, and we actually have a new health and wellness coordinator that'll be starting August 23rd, and that'll be Casey Torbat. And she will be, she interned with us and she did some great work, and now she'll be bringing us some great extra experience in that health and wellness section as well. As a reminder, we still have the plane pull that'll be taking place in Broomfield. So if you don't have anything to do on August 28th, feel free to come on out to the plane pull in Broomfield and get your team signed up for that as well. I did want to share a little bit of information on USA Games. Just so everyone is aware, we will be taking a large group to Florida for the USA Games, June 5th through the 12th in 2022. I've listed the sports that we're taking up here. We have most of our teams and athletes already selected. We are still looking to select our bocce, golf, tennis, and triathlon athletes, and that's all going to take place after this coming weekend finishes up. So stay tuned for some more team announcements and information on that. Finally, I just want to go ahead and again, thank you guys all for just your patience and flexibility. I know some questions didn't get the best answers, but unfortunately that's just kind of the state of what we're in. Just know that our team's working diligently to ensure that we can be hosting competitions and get our athletes back together competing. They may look a little different as we had to adjust some of our events in the spring. But that being said, we're still looking to provide a quality competition for all of our athletes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. Did we cover everything in the chat? Adrian, was there anything in there that we did not seem to cover in there?
Yep, we've got a couple of questions in here. So first one, the COVID participant risk form no longer has to be filled out each season, question mark. If we have them on file from the summer, we're good to go. And for how long?
Correct. Those do not need to be filled out for this season again. We are still, there are some different deadlines with each of those forms. And I don't want to get it incorrect, so I don't want to state the wrong thing. But we are monitoring that stuff, and we will be reaching out to you guys if you need to go ahead and refill those out. But if you filled them out at some point this year, you will not need to refill those out. As long as you've submitted those to your regional manager. I guess I should say that. As long as they're filled out legibly, filled out completely, and have been submitted to your regional manager.
The Denver Regional Flag Football Date is September 18th. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. And then, yes, Michelle, tonight's presentation will be shared with all attendees. The recording will also live on our website under our competitions page for anybody who wants to reference it at a future date.
And just so you guys are aware, we're going to wait until early next week to get this sent out, just to double and triple check to make sure all the links work with our new transition of our website. I see there was a question about masks, and I wish I could answer that question on when we can not wear them, but all I know right now is that we have to wear masks at all times unless athletes are actively competing for the fall season in flag football or volleyball. Everyone else will need to have masks on during the fall season. Okay. If there's any other questions, I'll stay on for a little bit. I'll stay on the webinar. I think we can probably sign off to Facebook at this point. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks for your time. Again, thanks for your patience as we continue to navigate this. Please, again, know that we're doing what we can to ensure as close to a normal season as possible. And we hope to see everybody out on the playing field soon. But if you have any questions at any point, you guys know how to get a hold of myself or your regional managers. We are happy to work with you and answer any questions that might come up as you navigate through everything as well. Okay.
Susan, we got a question on the Coaches Summit. I don't know if you know this one, but we could also touch base with Tammy offline. But do you know when the Coaches Summit slots will be announced to coaches who've applied?
That I am not sure of. Tammy, I'll connect you with Jenny, and I'll follow up with Jenny in an email, and she'll get that information out to you. But if you've already registered, you probably should be good, I'm guessing, but I don't know for sure. So we'll follow up with you on that one, Tammy. I'll make a note of that right now. All right. If we have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.